Good afternoon, City Council members. I'm Judy Jones, and I live 3035 North 8 Mile Road. And I wanted to send a video, since I can't be there in person, to address the International Property Maintenance Code that you guys are looking at to adopt. And so a friend of mine did a lot of research for me because I haven't been able to do a bunch. I've been battling breast cancer for the last 6 months, and hopefully everything will turn out when I'm done, and I can come address you guys myself. But I'm going to read you what our findings are. Ordinance 13 to 18, the entire International Property Maintenance Code, passed the first of 3 readings by the Casper City Council on Tuesday, June 19th, 2018. The vote was 5-4, with Humphrey, Huber, Hopkins, Powell, and Pachenko passing it. Morgan, Walsh, Laird, and Johnson voted against it. This ordinance was passed with several other codes that the state mandates via the Wyoming Fire Marshal's Office and Fire Council. Second reading of the ordinance of 13-18 is expected to occur on July 3rd, 2018 at a regular council meetings that are held every 2 weeks. The Wyoming Fire Marshal Office adopts various codes necessary for fire and public safety, all of which are mandatory for all Wyoming municipalities to adopt and comply with. The Wyoming Fire Marshal Office has not adopted the International Property Maintenance Code. The IPM code is not necessary because the separate mandated codes already provide the appropriate fire and safety laws for Wyoming citizens. Thus, the COC is not mandated to adopt the IPM code, nor is there any deadline that the COC must implement this or comply with. Wyoming State Statutes 35-9-121, local enforcement, is what COC is drawing their authority from. Cheyenne has adopted only chapters 1 and 2 of the IPM code. 3. The COC has provided only 1 copy of the International Property Maintenance Code for the public to view in person, which is available at the city clerk's office during city business hours. The COC does not provide online access to the code, nor does it provide paper copies. I find this to be very, very problematic. How are people going to come to a city council meeting and tell them what their problem is with this code if they can't even read it? Okay, the IPM code is strictly copyrighted and by the International Code Council, and a person can only legally obtain a copy of their own by purchasing it at $30 to $43. In 2001, a citizen in Texas, Peter Veck, bought the code and then posted it to his website so the local residents could access and actually read the entire code. After Mr. Vick posted the IPM code, he was sued by ICC with a multitude of copyright infringements. Vick versus SBCCI number 99-40632, if you care to look that up. A local citizen has found an internet link that the IPM code can be viewed at, but it's not certain if the purchased code is more detailed and extensive. It can be found at, and I'll post that link at the end of my video, that initiates adoption of the IPM code are in violation of their oath of office. It is a colossal and egregious overreach of power and authority that violates a significant number of federal and state constitution protections, primarily but not limited to the 1st, the 4th, the 5th. The amendments of the Constitution and the following from Article 1 of the Constitution of the State of Wyoming. Section 1, powers inherent in the people. Section 2, equality of all. Section 4, security against search and seizure. Section 5, imprisonment for debt. Section 6, due process of law. Section 7, no absolute arbitrary power. Section 14, bail, cruel and unusual punishment. Section 15, penal code to be humane. Section 32, eminent domain. Section 33, comprehensive compensation for property taken. You boys better take that serious, because that's exactly what I used, is a few of these to kick the county's ass over my property out in Natrona and on 8 Mile Road. So you better buckle up your seatbelts, boys, because people are going to know what's going on. And a few of my friends and I are getting this out tonight just so that people know that you can't just go and look at this. You have to go to the courthouse or the city building to look at what they're passing on you. They're boondogging you, boys and girls. You better wise up. The 2018 International Property Maintenance Code by International Code Council Incorporated begins by explaining that all provisions of the code shall apply to all existing residential and non-residential structures in all existing premises. Does that not stand out to you? That means if your house is 70 years old and the paint is chipping or the screens are gone, they can cite you. Okay, so you guys better wise up and tell these guys you don't want this crap. Okay, let's see. The word shall is restrictive language that embodies the rest of the IPM code that pertains specifically to both inside and outside of our homes and property. Legal legislation, law language that use the word shall means will or must. When the word may appears, it is less restrictive and generally means it is somewhat optional depending on circumstances. Stated another way, the IPM code says that all the code provisions must apply to all existing residential and non-residential structures in all existing premises, indoors included. During the 619 council meeting, Councilman Hopkins commented on the legal language incorrectly when he said the code has less shall and will and a lot more latitude for people making the inspections. That is simply not true. The 2018 International Property Maintenance Code by International Code and Council Incorporated authorizes and directs code enforcement officials to enforce the code. The code provides that code officials shall have the authority to render interpretations. Okay, now this is how the county got in trouble with me. One man's junk is another man's treasure. Wink, wink. Okay, so they better watch that one too. That's going to bite me in the ass.
I can tell you that long before anybody came before this group, they would come to me over on the police department. And there is nothing more time-consuming, more troubling, and oftentimes more petty than some of the neighborhood conflicts that come up. There are people that are unrelenting on each other for no appropriate reason. So, and certainly code enforcement faces this all the time as well. Obviously, there's a lot of overgrown lawns and weeds. Get mad at your neighbor, and you're constantly dropping a dime on the neighbor to come and get code enforcement to do something about them. Go get them to take care of a barking dog that may or may not be there. This is going to be an avenue that is going to run our public services in circles. There will be those times when it's beneficial. I believe we have mechanisms in place to address those issues. This is going to create a lot of unnecessary aggravation, and it is absolutely not our job to tell somebody the temperature of the inside of their house.
That's right, Chris. You've got that one right, 100%.
I voted for his amendment. I'm going to vote for it again because I don't think that'll make a big difference in our city about a couple of these things, but it could have an impact on people who can't afford it. So I don't know really what to say about this. Does code enforcement really want to cover on every basement window in town? I look at Craig over there, and he's shaking his head no. So that makes me feel better, because I really don't think that they're going to go out and do that. They're not going to go out and hit every.
Yeah, well, we thought the same thing, Dallas, and they find one and they take them to court. They sue them. They cost them a bunch of money. And that's to put the fear of God or fear of the government in a person. And that's how this starts.
The house in town, it'd be impossible. That's why I asked you about the number of law enforcement officers. We can't even cover the schools to keep our children safe, let alone having an officer go out and pick on people for not having a cover over their windows. So I'm wondering how much of this argument is really going to be a problem. And I think the council sees opportunities where they may have to change this ordinance down the line. So I'm confident that that will happen. If
Then why adopt it? And let me tell you, when the county came after me, our fines were $575,000. We had to fight. So I suggest if somebody comes knocking on your door and starts writing you tickets, you find yourself a good lawyer, because all he'll have to do is walk across the street to the Natrona County Courthouse and pick up my 19-page decision about violating your constitutional rights. Okay, inoperable or unlicensed motor vehicles. This one especially hit home with me because it started with the pretty police. You remember my neighbor, Don Wolcott, didn't like my cars being on my property out in Natrona, or out here on 8 Mile Road. Granted, I'm in the county, but still, that's what he was looking for, was a way to force me to remove my vehicles. And he got to pound sand up his little caboose for that one, too. Thank you, Judge Sullins. You're a hero. Okay, inoperable or unlicensed motor vehicles shall not be parked, kept, or stored on any premises. And vehicles shall not be at any time in a state of major disassembly, disrepair, or in the process of being stripped or dismantled. Okay, so now you can no longer even work with your kid on your own property of building a car. Or, you know, I guess the car show downtown in May, what is it, May 28th that we hold it every year? I guess that's not important to these guys either. I guess the only place you can build a car is inside of a garage where nobody sees it, huh? Isn't that just wonderful? Casper, Wyoming, 55,000 people, and we got to worry about some neighbor bitching about you fucking working on a car with your kid. You know, that's bullshit. And I'm sorry to cuss, but this is absolutely outside the bounds of any reasoning. Okay, between specific dates of the year that the city of Casper will mandate, every window, door, and outside opening must have an insect screen for ventilation of habitable rooms. Okay, so now you got to have screens on all your windows. They can write you up for that too. Chip paint, cracked paint, a board loose on your porch. Don't you think they're kind of taking a little overstep of their, authority? I do. And if you do too, you need to make the next city council meeting and tell them where to shove this bill, this ordinance. Okay, next. Every living room shall contain not less than 120 square feet, and every bedroom shall not contain less than 70 square feet. And every bedroom occupied by more than one person shall contain not less than 50 square feet of floor area for each occupant. What the hell is that about? That is just... So now they're going to tell you the size of your bedrooms that you have to have? Is that what it is? You have to have X number of feet for a bedroom? Who do you people think you are? You know, somebody's going to test this. And I would be more than happy to help them do it. Okay. Okay, violations of the above examples present reasonable cause based on personal interpretations by officials. To provoke a code enforcement official to demand inspection and entry on or into your private property, including the inside of your home. Also, any property maintenance complaint by a neighbor. You know, the old rat your neighbor out. What is it? Oh, well, their property is devaluing my property. Well, I'm going to refer you back to Judge Sullivan's court ruling 2014, January 3rd, of mine, Jones versus the Natrona County Commissioners. And the judge tells you, your property values are not contingent on what your next neighbor's place is doing or has. Your property value is based on what your property value is, what someone is willing to pay you for it. That's it. Nothing else. Okay. Complaint by a neighbor automatically presents reasonable cause. Also, some of the code applies to renters as well, where provisions for clean and sanitary requirements are described. You want to get on something, get on that CY apartment out there. They've had cockroaches for 15 years that I know of. Anybody who moves out of it leaves their furniture behind because they know there's cockroaches in it. You guys don't need to be going after homeowners like down in North Casper. Those homes are 60 years old. There's no way they could bring them up to compliance to this stupid paper. Okay, there's no way they could do it. So you're wasting your time and your effort to even try to pass something like this. You know, this is copyrighted. So you can't even just download it and print it. You have to pay for it. And of course I paid for it. So the city of Casper has been seeking solutions for a problem for rental properties. The IPM, okay, that's the way they're going in this with. They're going to say they're doing this for rental properties, but really it's for a money generating thing for Casper. You know, their little bankroll is what they need, and they need more money. So they figure if they start fining people, you know, $50 here or $100 there, or take somebody's home, they can sell it on the open market and make some money and put it in the city budget. That's what this is about in my book. And I've never seen so many ignorant people on a council as I did watching the council meeting tonight. Actually, what was it, the 19th? But yeah, you guys are in trouble. They start adopting these bullshit overstepping laws, violating your constitution rights. They won't stop. I have never seen a government not keep tightening the screw on people once they begin. I mean, they've been thinking for a long time of how to generate income to the city of Casper because they've overspent on their David Street Station. You know, they were supposed to have vendors 365 days a year, cost $11 million, and then you go to Hugger Rock up there on the mountain. There's another, what, $13 million that went down the shitter. And then you got the event center that I guess whoever was running that ripped them off pretty good. You know, I don't know whose budget, who's in charge of the money in this town, but whoever it is, somebody take the bank book away from him. He's a moron, you know. Okay, it says Casper residents should. Here. The city of Casper has been seeking solutions for problem rentals. IPM code, however, is an outrageous overreach that will affect us all, but mostly, especially the poor, infirmed, or disabled. City council comment, name of the code enforcer would act in many of these things. Then why pass this as an existing law? Just one more thing I wanted to add. There are 2 lawyers on the city council. I would think you two would know better. Judge Huber and Dallas Laird. Both of you guys should know better about overreaching and the violations of the Constitution. You swore an oath of office to it. Not once, but twice. So you guys need to start looking at this a little closer than what you're doing. And don't just read the print or what somebody's telling you. This is arbitrary and it's egregious on its face. And it's going to cause a lot of problems.